the green thing that says that we are okay.
There we go. Hello. Are you just the most delicious, lovely, powerful CEO? Welcome to the world of Powerful Inc. and the Startup Stories podcast. This is where new female business owners are heard, held, and served. We bring you relatable stories to keep you sane, grounded, and growing as you deliver your purpose and grow your business. Today's guest is An Ly-Tampere, who is a business coach who has been in the online space for about 10 years. And bringing in these other guests with a little bit of a bigger portfolio behind them to bring their stories back to us and for them to go back to the startup stages so that we can see a greater vision, so that we can attach to something beyond just what's happening and relax from pressure and relax from the initial anxieties around starting a business and see what comes, while remembering that we've all been through these initial stages. So Anne has built a writing coach business. She's a business strategist and has developed a very sustainable and robust online program for herself that is now providing for the life that she desires, that was rooted from becoming pregnant and seeking a change. So I'll let her speak more to that. But her and I were just having such a riot before, and now we're all kind of like subdued, but we were laughing. We were laughing. So we're not super serious. I'm never super serious.
Yeah, I was thinking, my God, you're so serious now. Yes, go for it.
Yeah, and I read that intro, like I read that now because it's new and I love it, but then it's like, oh, this is professional. No, I'm just a Canadian out here doing her thing, but I like.
Oh, you can have a laugh and still make it serious and professional. It's it's the brand.
That's it. So we get things done and we have a good time doing it. So welcome to the show, Anne. Why don't you walk us through a little bit about you? What do you want to share?
Yeah, hi. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. Very happy to come to the Canadian side, even though it's virtually, because of course I'm in Singapore. So yeah, I really loved the way you introduced myself, and specifically the fact that I have been for 10 years in this business. Because I would love to tell you that it has been 10 years of super great success, and that I'm now like a 10 billion business owner. Yes. And I've manifested my way to it, that kind of things. But what you actually didn't say in the introduction is that I've had two businesses, and that the first one really collapsed when I came from the UK to Singapore. So for me, I always give that example of that first business as all the things that you shouldn't be doing, and how it was a really learning lesson for me to build up the one that I have now. That I'm really much more successful in than the first one, let's say.
Okay, and are they different, of a different nature, of a different service?
Yes, so the first business was really focused on networking. So I would help professionals, mainly diplomats and financiers, to help set them up their network. So I must say it was one of those crazy moments, because I've never thought about becoming an entrepreneur. In my family, I don't have any example of successful entrepreneurs. So I was most definitely really set on building a big career in the corporate. But this was something that I started my career in diplomacy, and very soon my colleagues saw that I was really good at networking. Like I could pick up a phone, go see. And when we hear the word diplomat, it seems very normal that you know how to do that, right? That is something in your genes. But you would be surprised how many diplomats are not able to do that. So I got that question more and more. And so it just got rolling like this. But what I never really had in those 7 years, and I'm embarrassed to say this again, a plan. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't plan about my marketing. I didn't think about my ideal client. I remember raising my prices. It was really in function of like, I have less time now. So let's try if I can sell a package at this time or this time. And so all of that really collapsed when I came to Singapore, because market very different, ideal clients very different. I had changed a lot as well. When I was a networking coach, I was working with people for who the job was everything. So and both diplomacy as working in the finance industry, it's very, very demanding jobs. Like myself, I would be the first in the office, the last one to leave.
Yeah.
It's a very different kind of mindset. And of course, you can handle that with a career, with motherhood or having children, but you have to make choices, especially in those sectors. And it was very difficult for me to continue working with that audience. Because beforehand, for example, I would be on call until late in the evening. When someone went to a networking event and they had some issues or they wanted a quick call to know how to handle this situation or this situation, that was a service I offered. And then I realized I could no longer do that when I came here. So it was like, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Like everything was just crumbling down. Because I wanted to spend time with my kid. I didn't want to go back to corporate and work day and night, not seeing my kid. And I was really so convinced that, I'll just take that business and I put it in here. And then it's like, no, that's not how it goes. It doesn't. It doesn't. So that was really one of those break or make moments, like they say.
And so then you were at a transition point, right?
Yes.
And so you had built something that was working and bringing in revenue and from existing skills, natural strengths, but moving put you in a new environment. You had to shift things, and now you had a different priority. You had a child that you value, adore, want to have, and want to be there with. So this business that you have now is very different and built around your schedule, right? So how did you come to that realization and leverage some of the skill sets and lessons learned to start something new?
The first one was boundaries, like to really set boundaries, because, I didn't have a kid. My husband knew that I was someone who was very ambitious, who really wanted to get up on the career ladder. So we compensated. And of course, there've been moments he was not happy that I was practically never at home, but there was, a justification behind it. When I had my child, it was suddenly like, well, the child cries, and people told me, oh, you can get over the mom guilt. Don't worry, you'll live with it.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. And it's perfectly fine to be that kind of person. Like, I think that's one of those things I really get very annoyed when I have women who tell me, oh, being a housewife, not good, being a career wife, not good, or being an entrepreneur, not good. But you have to figure out what is your priorities and where you put the line. So for me, because it was a very surprising aspect for me as well. I really thought I'm going to give birth and 2 weeks later I go back to work. That was like the whole plan. And then suddenly I had that baby in my hands. I was like to my husband, I cannot do this.
The rest of the world disappears.
Yeah, exactly. And I get lots of people telling me, oh, but I never thought you would lose all your ambition. And I'm like, I didn't lose my ambition. I'm just in another season. So that's a word that I really use a lot with my clients, of like, what is the season you are in? And once you have figured out that season, put your boundaries around that, because that is your space. So that was the first one, boundaries in function of my season.
Which having like a new why, right? Like you had a new why now.
Exactly.
Before, ambition, drive, desire, naturally inclined, already just easy to do, but a new why now that shifted yourself, right? It expanded you into another version of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And it still does. It is so, like, I feel motherhood had changed me on so many aspects. It's an ongoing change. And I think that is also one of those things that even among entrepreneurs who are parents, many don't understand that the season I am is different than the season you are going to be in. Like now I have a 4-year-old who every week we have this day off. Friday is our day off, and it's really mommy and kiddo day, and we do it. And then a couple of weeks ago, he told me, no, I don't want to go. Like, I want to go to nursery on Friday because my friend is going to give me a banana. I was like,
mom or banana? Banana.
Yeah, exactly. Suddenly I was like, oh my God. I mean, I am in a whole new season where I suddenly have this 4-year-old who doesn't want me all the time around him anymore. So I have more time. I can spend more energy in my business. But it is, again, another transition, because not so long ago, I had to pick him up at 12. We spent the entire afternoon together. We did lots of things. So even as a mom, it's like you have to think practically every month, what is your season? How is that influencing your business?
Right.
So, and always keep that priority. I've never, I don't exclude, for example, going back to corporate or anything like that. But I do what I need to do now to respect myself and the season I am in, and that why, as you said so nicely.
So how did you start to shift out of the diplomat networking and support into the business that you have now?
So I knew something wasn't right. So I initially thought, like, why don't I become a book coach? So because I love books. And it's one of those things people say, if you love books, become a book coach. I had worked with a book coach myself, so I love the coaching. It all seemed very the perfect thing. I went to the entire training. And then when I came out of the training, I had to have my first client, and that was just an absolute disaster. I was really very, very uncomfortable. Yeah, I remember that first call, and I have my watch that's like on the back of my computer, and I was just watching all the time. Okay, when is this hour over? Because I really don't like doing this work. So.
You're so uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, but it's horrible. It's like, oh my God, this is like you want to become a fisher, and then you realize you're on the boat. Actually, you hate the smell of fish. It's like,
okay.
What should I do?
And you just invested in, all the tools to do it and thought this will be great. Okay.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Because, and that's a good thing to keep in mind also for people who watch us and who thinking, okay, what should I do? Like, be open when you look for your passion, your thing. Look open, go into it, go talk with people. You never know that you've done, you do like me, you go to the entire training, because I'm very like, okay, I have a problem. It's like, I want to spend time with my kid, so I need to have a company because the corporate doesn't allow me to spend time with my kid. So let's become a book coach, training, blah, blah, blah. So I go, full in. But when I came out of that, it just really was like, oh my God, like what I'm going to do now, because at the same time I had continued working as a networking coach. I still had lots of referrals. I was thinking, let's maybe try to launch it anyway in Singapore, maybe to adapt to the market. Like, and then by the biggest chances, I got a book owner who came to me because he needed networking advice. So, and that, we had that first session, and like, okay, I know what we want to work on, your elevator speech and that kind of thing. But when we started talking, I just realized that there were so many things wrong in his business. So I had worked as, so both in diplomacy and finance, my role was really to be as a business consultant. So to come in to help, the business is becoming more lean, figure out what was wrong, why it was not working, how we could help that, get the grants, that kind of thing. So like very naturally, it just became a business coaching, because I realized like we cannot do the networking if your business is not set up, if you don't have a sales cycle. Yeah, exactly. Because that's the thing. I always say, okay, get out there. But that's the first thing you have to do, get out there. Just send an email. You want to do this, start now, send out that email. But you need to at least have one offer out there. And so here it was just such a plethora of multiple things. There was no clarity, not in his marketing, not in his. So after that, I remember I just exploded in that. And because it was really my thing. I had the business consulting side. I had this business who was in difficulties and I need to figure it out. But then the other one, there was the books as well. Like, I really am a fierce defender of physical books, and you have here the bookstore owner. That was just the perfect match. So I had that client, and at the same time, in my book coaching training, there's been a couple of people saying, and you always have this really great advice. Could you coach me? I was like, I've never thought of like coaching a book coach. But then again, I had that second client, and then it was just the ball went rolling, because I was like, you know what, this is it. And no one has ever heard of a book coach, but they will hear it now. I'm there. Yes, exactly.
Well, it's got to start from somewhere, and clearly there's a need. And what I'm hearing is that you had a skill set and you were using it not in your passion. But then the passion came in order for you to then realize how to merge them together. So the passion
Yeah.
first came in one form and it wasn't right, but it allowed you to start marching down the book world in order
Mhm.
to bring these things together. So this is insight. So when we're out there experimenting and, you know, sampling the buffet of the entrepreneurial world, there's some self-awareness to have to look at the clues that are being brought to you. And so I'll quickly in turn share, I'm going through realizing the clues that have been like hitting me in the face for probably a year, that I'm a community builder, right?
Mhm.
And so now I'm like, oh, of course, and starting to see things in a new way and experiment and develop things in a new way. And so they've always been there, and I've talked about them, and like I've known them, like my desk, you know, things that I can see that I understand in my day-to-day life, but I haven't been putting them together yet. And then you get that aha. So as we're experimenting, important to, you know, then what? Like, how do you start to discover if a client's not going to come forward? Do you think that you would have come to this conclusion anyway? Like, were there other clues that were directing you?
Well, the one number big clue I always had was the books. So
Mhm.
I know that sounds very cliche, but
It's
no,
great though. The most obvious thing is like right in front of you, right? And you don't
yeah,
see it.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I've, you know, the very first thing I wanted to do as a kid was to be a journalist. I mean, before I wanted to be a firefighter, but you know,
Cute. Yeah,
um,
great.
yes, exactly. But then
Love
I was like, I wanted to journalist, and then I wrote things, and you know, and I know that there was something I wanted to do with books, but it's just it didn't come up. And
Yeah,
um
couldn't see what it would be,
that's yeah,
but it was
the thing
always
that
there. Yeah,
exactly. And
yeah.
I had that, but the thing that I maybe I don't know if I regret it, because I feel also I'm in that perfect space now where I can do this now. Because one of my regrets is sometimes, oh my God, if I just would have built my business before I had kids, right? I could have
Mhm.
worked 12 hours per day on it and not
Yeah.
having asked myself any question, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. But then at the other side, I'm also like, yes, but would it have come up? Because every single thing now, it seems very logical when I tell you, but I can it's brutal to go through that period. It's brutal to sit there and have, you know, work with clients you don't really want to work with. You know, I remember working with this mom of twins, and so she was in finance, and she told me, I see my twins a half an hour every day when I go to the nursery for lunch. No
Mhm.
judgment at all, but
Yep,
it
yep,
was
yep,
very
yep.
difficult for me
Fair.
to
Yep,
like to
yeah.
support that mom, because I had difficulties understanding her choice.
Mhm.
But again, please, and that's one of the things, if I can say so to women, let's not judge each other.
At
You know,
all.
we
Yeah.
all have our
Yes.
choices, so it's
Yes.
zero judgment here. But I felt also that I was not able to give the most of myself, like, you know, to really get the best out of my coachees, because that's the thing. Eventually, okay, of course,
Right.
I'm the business coach, but what I want is to see my coaches thrive. Like,
Yeah.
uh, they
And
would
not
have to be
just
on
in
the drum board.
business, but
Yes,
presumably, right?
exactly, exactly. Because for me, I see now, like, I have the full support of my husband. I cannot tell you how much that changes
Mhm.
in comparison to the business I had before. Because for him, of course, you know, if I'm 2 a.m. in the morning and I'm still on the phone with a client,
Yeah.
it's difficult for that
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Um, but like I feel we're diverging. But to
No,
come,
no, no, because there's so many good lessons here. We'll come, we'll
oh,
see.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's
Um,
important.
but to come to that question, I would say just follow that passion and do one step, like
Mhm.
just one
Mhm.
step. You don't need to like myself, throw yourself in there, because that
Mhm.
doesn't give you any success. I mean, I paid an expensive book coaching training. I didn't go
Mhm.
to work. I had to, like, you know, it was very intense to do the training. um it can still collapse, but at least I tried. And I think that's the thing you have to do. If you're like, okay, I'm not happy with the life I have today,
Mhm.
what can I do? Because we also have this idea of like, oh, entrepreneurship, it's the freedom, it's the liberty. Yes, but it's very hard as well to do it, and it's not that easy. So I've had people who come on an introduction call, and after the call, they tell me, actually, you know what? I'm an editor in a good publishing house. I think I'm going to stick to it. And I'm like, yeah, that, you just probably needed to have that thinking it out, saying it out of what you're looking for, and is it compatible where you are today? And if it's not compatible with where you are today, then start your search now. And you don't need to take out a 50,000 loan and say goodbye to your job, but just do one step at a time. Because that's what you say so well as well. For a year, you've been thinking on that community building. A year, it seems huge, but that's the time of incubation, and I'm sure you will come up with something brilliant. But you have to give that the time and also the space. You cannot sit there and say, oh my God, I hate my job. And then, okay, well, you hate your job. So what,
Yeah, that's a choice, right? And this is where we bring it in, because you built something that you thought was going to lead to what you thought you wanted, until what you wanted changed and you moved. And so now what you built as the answer to life was completely reframed and had to be either forge on and just, kind of power through, suck it up because I did this and I'm going to keep doing it. Or, wow, now I see more. Now I see from a different level. I see maybe the lane was like this and it's getting wider and wider and wider. And if you're listening on the podcast, I'm just like putting blinders behind my eyes and then panning the hands out to open the peripheral vision more, the spiritual peripheral vision, if you will, and the sense of life that we really want. Because certainly, and I was exactly what you just described. I hate my job, so I'm going to build a business to get out of my job. And instead, what's happened in my life is I've gotten a new job. I'm almost 3 years there. I love it. I love it. And I'm now building my business in a new version, and I'm loving that. And my job has shifted that allows more space for my business. And now all the pieces are falling in together in synchronicity that includes time with child and family and spouse and friends, includes time for podcasts, includes some business development, job. So all these elements coming together. And this is a real, important lesson. And we say it ad nauseum, of looking bigger and beyond the business, because otherwise you may end up building something that kicks you in the teeth and you have to completely start over. And yes, it's part of the journey, it's part of the lessons, but let the lessons come through and be applied, and then rebuild or continue to build, with what you now know as it arrives.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I find that yeah, that's it. I don't have to add anything. That's it. We're done. Bye.
We don't know until we try. Again, the example of the buffet, the Vegas buffet. There's a big famous one. I'm sure there's others. But they have like rooms upon rooms upon rooms of food. You go in, you sample away, you don't know what you like and you don't like. So we have to go through these. And so we share these stories often on the podcast to remind ourselves to normalize, and really it's to relax the nervous system when we're in it, you guys. That's why I want you to really hear this and say it over and over, pull it out, is relax the nervous system, that what you're going through is only now. It will change. Like, guess what? 10 years ago, I was 10 years younger. I'm changed
exactly.
now. It happens. So what season we're in is just that. Like Anne says, it's one season of many, and it will change and evolve. And when we can soften and surrender to that, then we can build the, I don't want to say thick skin, but the tenacity and the longer term vision to get to 10 years where you now, Anne, have a business that you love. So tell us about how your business fits into your life, and your life into your business, compared to, what we've talked about so far. That was kind of very one way.
Yeah. For me, I don't like to make like the whole big distinction between work life. I do, because I feel like things are fluent. When my kid is at home, he has his office there.
Okay, yes, nice, great, yeah. Totally, my daughter's is back here.
Voila, exactly. I call it my CFO. So sometimes my CFO comes to work with me. I sometimes take him to workshops or to networking events. Like he was 3 when he did his first cocktail party. So there's really, yeah, no, can you imagine? And he was very happy as well. So because that the thing is that I actually learned through my dad, because that's what my dad did himself. So he was a doctor. And he would take me to his appointments. I don't think you can do this now anymore as a doctor, but at the time, and I feel I learned so much out of that. You know, like my kid, he sees how I interact with other people. He's very comfortable networking, asking questions to people. You know, so the first thing is that I really found back in my business what I wanted to give to my kid, which was, okay, you know, mom is working. This is what she's doing. And you can be a part of that as well, and you can do this as well. Because he gets very, like, he's becoming very independent as well, and on some things that I know come from the fact he sees me doing things. So that was the first priority for me. I wanted something that really blends in. The second thing is that I carve out time for myself. So I try to limit my working hours to 3-4 hours per day, big maximum, so that I have time to, for example, write my book or go to the swimming pool or enjoy Singapore, because it's like, it's just a beautiful country. And I don't know that much. Like, I'm learning more and more, but I'm becoming like really a tourist agency for Singapore now.
Great, great. Yeah, because you just fell in love with it there, right?
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And also because like I'm at a kind of stage that like I'm in the second part of my life, right? So I know I maybe have like what, another 30-40 years. I want to spend that time with my husband, so it's also making time for my husband. But the third one, again, I want to put it on the same, is the impact I have with my coaches. And I think that is also one of the things that comes with experience. So initially, I must say, I worked with pretty much any book coach, you know, from the one you were book coach, you could come in. But I realized that I really shifted to working with book coaches who want to change the world. So like, for example, I'm working with a client now. She's absolutely brilliant. And she works really on changing the way we tell certain stories. So for example, she's working with this dietitian for transsexual people. So something I didn't even heard about. I didn't know what it was. But the fact is, she's working on that narrative and changing it. Or there's other people who, for example, they want to focus on helping writers write romance books with Indigenous characters. And it's that kind of thing that I'm like, I feel amazing when I do that work, because I'm like, wow, you know, I'm kind of changing the world also through my coaches. Yes, exactly. I could never do the work that some of my coaches do. Yeah, like the memoir coaches, I really have so much respect for them, because they work with horrible stories that need to be heard, that are not being heard. And the fact that, you know, they help their writers to find them and to write that book, I'm like, you know, I'm really doing a good thing for the world.
You know, you're playing your part in the greater collective without having to be an expert in everything that your industry could encompass, right? So supporting, you know, supporting the athletes get to gold is a significant role to play. And that, as a startup, like, if you really find a passion, you're filling a gap for somebody who's on a mission, it serves your mission and it serves their mission, and then it helps everybody. And that is a very holistic platform to be operating from, and takes a lot of like perfectionism pressure off, or you know, expert pressure off. You're an expert at the very things that you're an expert at, and they are applied across a scale of people, but they don't have to get into the minutia of everything in that.
No, yeah, and
industry.
I was going to say that is something to really keep in mind, that I do consider myself that I have to have that expertise on business consulting, and it's something that, you know, I still read all the business books that come out there. I still read Inc. and Fast and whatever. because I need that information for my coachees. But you don't need to be an expert from day one. Like my expertise has built up. I worked in the public sector, in the private sector. Yes, exactly. And I think it comes dangerous when you start saying, you know what, I'm the perfect business coach. Come in and I will help you with everything. Because I don't have one of my coachees who has the same business model. I had the one, she wanted to go to India for 6 months at a yoga retreat. She didn't have any internet there. We had to find a business model to make her business work anyway, compared to someone who has perfect internet access every day. So if I just come in and say, okay, so this is how you build your business, this is the thing, it doesn't work. And that's one of the things. I think I see so many, especially women, who are telling me, oh, but I'm not ready yet. You will never be ready, because I'm still not ready. Like I still have to learn so many things. Last year we had ChatGPT, who completely revolutionized the editor world, and now starts also to do with the book coaching world. I had to learn that as well. I had to go on a training as well. Like, you know, it's never done. But the thing is, that's so important as an entrepreneur, you have to keep your mind open. And I feel that is also one of those things that when you have in the corporate, oh yes, they send you on a training because you need to learn that, but you're not that stimulated to say, oh my God, like I really need to know it, because I need to help my clients to get to that next stage. So that is, yeah, I think it's not even, you don't even need to be an expert. It's good if you have some experience in whatever you do. But I've had, you know, book coaches, and most of my book coaches actually, who've never written a book. It doesn't make them less of a book coach. What they do need to have is the coaching spirit, right? And that is more difficult than writing a book, because you can write a book and be the most horrible book coach out there. So, you know, it's not optimism.
You've shown us that what you've designed now supports the type of mother that you want to be, the type of life that you want to have, the type of relationship and recreation that you want to have, and the passion that you have. And by improving your skill set, you can better serve your clients, and you're equally invested in their mission through what you can bring to contribute to it. Right. And this is a real full circle platform.
So, you know, sometimes a little bit too much, because I really, you know, like this morning I had a last call, it was the send-off call for a coaching.
Oh
And
gosh.
it breaks my heart. It
Cheers.
really breaks my heart, because I get so invested. It's like, I really see myself as the business partner who comes in. So, you know, but then I'm like, you know what? I've never had any project like this. I was, you know, relieved that the project was over, or was like, oh, okay, I probably would have loved to do it. But it's a whole different feeling when you have that passion coming to you. Like, oh my God, please stay with me, don't go.
Well, it's like when your child leaves for college or wherever they're going. We got lots of time. Mine's 5 going on 6. Yours is they'll be around.
Yeah, you know what? Mine, he changed 3 times nurseries, 3 times. I was literally the mama. So I think college, I will be again that mom saying, oh my God.
But at the same, like, it's a wonderful way to feel, and a wonderful way to show up and make a difference in the world.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, you know, how do you get to a point where you can have a business like that? Or what advice would you go back and tell the startup version of yourself? What wisdom have you gained that our listeners who are in the early few years and, you know, kind of going through the bumpies and learning to navigate them?
First of all, respect the season I am in. I was very, very harsh on myself. Like, I needed to be the expert. I needed to work 12 hours per day. I needed to have the perfect website from day one. I needed to have the perfect newsletter. All of that while I had a kid that didn't sleep through the night until he was 3 years old and woke up every 2 hours. So you can imagine how tired I was. And I still wanted to be at 8 a.m. behind my computer, work until, you know, it was the end of the day. So first of all, respect your season. You will not do the same when you have a newborn as when you have a 20-year-old. So as again, and if you want to do that when you have a newborn, please hire help of like get yourself a nanny or something like that, so that you can focus on that without being exhausted and driving yourself to burnout. The second one is that passion. We all say, oh, follow your passion, but it's not easy like that. It's following your passion, but also validate the thesis. Talk with people. It's never been easier to go on LinkedIn and say, hey, you know what? I don't know how many people I've contacted because, I don't know, at one point I wanted to become a school counselor. So like, you know, I would just go out and then, you know, and then the first thing people tell me, well, you will have to work with parents. Ah, okay.
I'm out.
Didn't think about that one. Okay, thank you so much. That's it. So I would say validate your and then the third one, the goal setting. I think set yourself goals. Smart, very cliche as always. But it is important to set yourself goals, and that can be a very small goal. But to set your goals in a timely fashion. Like one of the things I every single time that I have someone who comes to me and they don't have a website, I'm like, so, you know, what's happening with the website? Are you going to make a website? Yeah, you know, but I'm not really, I've been working on it. And every single time, website is the procrastination number one. I cannot tell you the number of hours people spend on that. And I get really angry. I'm like, yeah, just get out the website, one page, one offer, one,
use
that's
a
it.
template.
You don't need more. That, you know, more. Because I'm talking from my own experience. I don't know how long it took to get my website out there. So.
And is that your own design, or do you have somebody do it for you with your
I
website?
had my own design, and then I got a website designer. And that's actually good that you asked me that question, because I would also say in the beginning, don't invest too much. Do it yourself. Now my website is outsourced to someone else. But the thing is, I knew what I needed and what I wanted from that person before I asked, which makes a whole difference. I see so many people, they put 5,000 on a website and then, you know, they don't know what to do or how to do it. So I would say when you can outsource as quick as possible. But at the beginning, please go also to the stages to do it yourself. Don't invest, for example, in a Facebook ad manager if you've never done any ads yourself. You want to know what they are talking about, and you want to go through those stages as well. And secondly, you don't want to have debt before you start your business. You know, I always, I love this this financial system, the profit first. So it's a bit of a complicated, but not that complicated, but the book is complicated. But you can really find nice videos on YouTube that break it down to you. And they focus so much on the profit. So to make sure that you have profit from the start, that you don't overinvest in things that you might not need at that point or that are just superfluous. Always come back to that, okay, what is going to change the needle in my business? And when you start out, what is going to change the needle in business is not to have the most fashionable website. It is you sending out an email to your people and saying, hey guys, I am launching this business. Do you know someone who might be interested? That is going to change the needle, and that is what you have to focus your attention on.
Yeah, it's true. The shiny object, or the looking for something, or the overcomplicating, you know, the very key basics that we need just to get going. And you guys, if you don't have a website, Wix, Squarespace, GoDaddy, Canva has website templates. Take it, change the coloring, change the font, put your picture in there, and away you go. And you can, you know, link to PayPal or other payment portals immediately, so that you have somewhere to send people and you have somewhere to get money. And then beyond that, things come later and later and later, and you build out. And when you're starting, it doesn't need to be complicated, because you're only looking for a handful of clients to get some momentum going, right?
Yeah. And I mean, you are a great example of that as well. I mean, you have a full-time job as well. So it's not like you can spend all that time. You told me earlier that you register or record your podcasts before you go to work. You cannot spend an entire day on, like, you know, preparing and then recording and then editing and then thinking about the jingle. You know, you just have to put it out there.
Yeah, you just get it done. You get better as you go. That's the thing. I did a podcast interview with somebody, and they indicated that it takes up to 100 episodes to get really good. And I'm at 50-ish. So I was like, oh, I guess
Wow,
I
yay!
got a way to go there. I thought I was like doing pretty good, but I'm only halfway. Well, great, I'm halfway.
Yeah, no, well, it takes time, huh?
It does
Yes,
take time.
yeah,
It does
yeah.
take time, and play and practice. So this is really great because it can, I hope for you listeners that you start to kind of relax and soften in that anxiety. And I think some of the energy that I'm observing is this desire for instant gratification because, the online coaching world is kind of selling that, like overnight success, $10,000 days, this sort of thing. And we can get to that point, but that shouldn't be the chase or because it's not sustainable, right? These other elements need to come into place too in order to be sustainable. And that's been a huge piece of surrender, stubborn surrender for me to relax, which is why I pointed out earlier how much I really love my job now. And, the dream was chase the entrepreneurial online business, make as much money as I want, da da da. I have meaning at work. I have meaning at home. I have meaning online. I'm kind of winning at everything right now, which allows me to operate from a bit more of a spacious place. And
Mm,
so, and there'll be an adjustment, much like if we see corporate retirees having hard times adjusting after decades long of working a so-called 9 to 5. There's also some acclimatizing and transitioning to go from career where work is provided to you to entrepreneur where you're generating your own work, right? So
oh.
these are I was waiting. I was like, she's gonna jump in. Oh, she took a drink. I'm gonna keep going. Just lean it in.
Yeah, but I actually wanted to jump on that one because
Yeah.
it is true. It is a real adjustment, and I'm still adjusting to that.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, it's 12 o'clock, it's the end. Yeah, is it really the end? Should I not be doing anything here or there? And then I'm like, okay, and you did everything you had to do and you had planned today, so it's
Mhm.
okay, you can take a
Mhm.
break. Um, because you talked about, relaxing and taking a break and the whole thing. One of my best productivity tips is to nap. Like,
Mhm.
if you're really overwhelmed and you don't know what to go to bed, like just for 10-15 minutes, but it
Mhm.
makes just such a change. And it's one of those things that, you're not supposed to say, like you're not
Yeah.
supposed that I nap or that, I relax or I do some yoga or the things. Because again, like you say, you go on Instagram, and especially when you look at those very young ones, I'm really like, my God, I cannot travel the entire world like
Yeah.
this or like that. I'm like, oh. But then, it actually made me realize, recently my husband and we started Zumba, but it's
Okay.
cardio Zumba. And I
Yeah.
remember that first class we came in, and I felt so old, like so old. You had this perfect woman with the perfect body and the whole thing. Um, but then you start looking around and you're like, okay, the 20-year-old, well, she's 20 years old. Like, so of course she's going to have a better
Mhm.
body than mine because she hasn't have any kids. And entrepreneurs, it's the same. Of course, when
Mhm.
you see a 20-year-old who doesn't have
Yeah.
a kid, of course she can spend more time, and she should spend more time. And if she wants to travel, she doesn't have the same responsibility that I have. So, compare yourself with who you want to compare yourself, or better,
Yeah.
don't compare yourself, because um I mean, that's one of the reasons I stopped going on Instagram, on Facebook, because I'm like, you know what, I'm good at what I did. I did a lots
Mhm.
of things in my life. I don't need to prove myself to anyone else that, you know what, I bought myself a Ferrari or, the kind of things. Because, like, we all laugh at it, but then at the same time, I see so many entrepreneurs who at the same time they have to splash that out as well. And again, it's perfect if that is your lifestyle and if that's your choice. But keep in mind that you can make your choice as well. Because
So this
you
is,
talk.
being the truest version of yourself as you start to see what else is possible, because building your entrepreneurial dream, if you will, is the self-expansion. It's reaching more and more of your potential. And it's not just
Yes.
about the business, it's about creating or designing a life that you truly enjoy and find fulfilling everywhere all the time. So
Yes.
the other piece that I want to draw out again that you said just a moment ago is at noon, I look back and I got done what I needed to do for the day. And at the very beginning of the podcast, you spoke of boundaries. So here you're managing your own boundaries to avoid falling back into old self of the 12-hour days, which I mean, I love those marathon days, but in my season of growth and transition, the spaciousness and like everything's different. It's bigger inside now. And
Mm.
I'm so cliche, I'm getting more done with less effort. It's
Oh, absolutely.
that flow state, like that sport zone, because I can hold more in a different way and just get done the key activities that need to be done, right?
Mm.
And I don't have a team yet, but I'm using tools as digital teams for that, like social media schedulers. Super easy website platform, email automation, basic little things to set up and then get going. And they're not perfect. And, you know, at times they need revisiting and some tech learning and things, but it's allowing me to grow the business sustainably and not lose myself in the process. So um, these are, you know, lessons that it's so exciting. I say it all the time. It's so exciting at the beginning, and we just want to go all in.
Mm.
But I really repeat it over and over so that we can remember that there's time for all of that. And you're building mastery, which is a long game, which is why having someone like Anne, who's 10 years in, can come in as the example of where you, me, she are going to be in the future after a decade. It's a
Mm.
long time, right? It's a
Oh, yeah, yeah. And
beautiful time.
I'm still not there. I still don't have
You're
my
still,
to-do
well,
list.
what is the there? So tell us, you know, like where you are right now. What season are you in your business right now? And what is going to come next in sort of the planning or the vision?
Um, so for me, it's all based on my kid, right? So he starts
Beautiful.
school here at 7, so that is
Okay.
where I think I can take it to the next stage. But what I ideally would like to have is a good business that makes me live, but without a team. So
Uh,
because you told me I don't have a team yet, and I just wanted to jump on that one,
Yeah, do it.
um, that you can now also build big businesses without needing a team. Of course, you can
Mhm,
have a team, but you don't need to. And that's also something that I feel like we have all in mind this idea that yes, you can be an entrepreneur, but how is you entrepreneur? A startup that is, you know, you ask for money from investors and the whole thing. And if you don't have that kind of business, you have a kind of lifestyle business. So I really hate that word, but I was
mhm,
really recently told to people that I'm doing a lifestyle business
mhm,
because I don't have a team. I don't want to hire a team.
mhm.
I don't want to have a $1 billion dollar business.
Yeah,
What I want is a business that allows me to live comfortable,
yeah,
have space for my kid, have space for my husband,
yeah.
and do like one of my long dreams is to become a foster mom.
Mhm,
So it's
mhm,
also to be able at one point to just do that. And again, I cannot like for me, my business is really to help me live
yeah,
comfortably, but
yeah.
it will never be like I don't expect it to ever be a Google. So I'm sorry, I'm not the future Google, you know. But
Yeah.
I just wanted, I just wanted to put it out there as well that become an entrepreneur for yourself, not
Um,
what you think that other people think you should be doing. Because
or are
otherwise you
doing themselves, right?
are doing
And
themselves.
selling
Yes.
you that razzle dazzle, right?
Yes.
And trying to suck you into that fancy lifestyle because you may not end up liking it or it may not be for you at all. What are you going to, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we are like quite focused on sustainability here in Singapore as well. So
Yeah.
um that is also a thing that my entire house, we all have secondhand uh things and it's really a choice of
Mhm,
living like that. So
mhm.
that makes it also a little bit difficult sometimes because I'm like, I cannot show you Instagram pictures of my perfect, My perfect new white coach.
Like, this is the behind the scenes entrepreneur, the other styles, the important versions. Like, I'll often just state this is an office to the side of my bedroom where we calved off because it's a ridiculously
You don't
small.
have a separate desk like in the inside of your garden with a pool, you know?
Well, it's in the vision just for a bit of space and a couch for journaling, but it serves the purpose it needs to serve. And so what I think what we're both saying here is letting go of this marketing idea of more when we have what we have and that is enough. And
Yes,
then
exactly.
it keeps us from this striving energy and really again in that holistic place of building something for ourselves. And what I'm really hearing from you is I'm building a business that suits who I really am,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
who the internet is trying to sell to me or lure me into. And I'm building boundaries around turning off um, the stimulation of other people's success and financial abundance because I love that for them, but I know what I want for me and my
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I must say it's not easier. Like even I'm just talking to you and
100%.
I'm feeling like so embarrassed because I'm, oh my God, I should be the person sitting here and saying, I want a 1 billion business and 30 people team, because that's what we expect, right? So I must say, even if I seem very comfortable in saying this is the kind of business I want, it's still every day a struggle because sometimes I just ask myself, yeah, should I not be? Yeah, did I lose my ambition? That's the thing. Like, did I lose my ambition? You know? So
Mhm. Well, I've been feeling at present like, oh my God, what if I just stopped? But I can't. And I get to that sometimes with my kid. I'm like, oh my God, no, I want you. I love you. I'm in it. And I'm going to, persist because I don't know what we'll miss out. And I like to use the example of like, what if Walt Disney didn't? What if Walt Disney just didn't Disney?
oh
Like,
my God, can you imagine? Oh.
what if the Orville brothers didn't invent the plane? What if they were just like, we'll never be birds, you know?
Yes. No,
So
that's true.
you,
That's a good question. If they started out saying, oh my God, I have to be this 1 billion business and I'm not after the weekend, that's it.
you know, it, we can continue to find out where it goes and make, like you say, decisions as our perspective broadens and continue to make those adjustments in that. So
Mm.
it's a great way of just finding out more about who you are in the journey.
Yes, absolutely. It has learned me so much about myself,
Yeah.
and given me so much confidence as well of like, I can
Yeah.
do this. So,
Yeah.
uh,
And if you can do this, what else can you do? Because everything is building your overall life portfolio and the leverage, right? And the pooling together of those skills and expertise into who knows what else, what else, what else.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. That's also the thing because I feel like once you are in this space, I cannot tell you how many ideas I have for new companies, or
Mhm,
because that's the
mhm,
thing again, you can change. I know that until my kid is 7,
mhm,
this it will be a small business. I don't
mhm.
even want to say, that's actually the thing. I'm saying like small business. I'm like, no, it's a business. Point. Like,
Yeah,
and yes, it's not a startup business or anything like that, but it's a business
yeah,
that makes me live comfortable. So
yeah.
what else do I want? But you see, I think it's really good as well for people to see that even when you're in this phase and I comment that actually no, we all have our doubts and our hesitations,
Of
and
course.
even the people who are on the top, it's not different. Of course, the challenges are different, but the the feeling is the same. The feeling of
Mhm,
insecurity and
mhm.
sometimes the imposter syndrome and all of that, it stays the same.
Yeah. And you just, work at getting better at moving through that stage of it, right?
Yeah, yeah, you learn how to deal with, and
Yeah.
again, that's what I told you. It's like saying, "Oh, I'm done. I've made it."
Mm,
The moment you start telling to yourself, "I've made it. I am the best expert out there," or there's nothing, you will see there will something that will come up, and that's it. And I think that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. You really have to um, adapt all the time.
mhm.
And it's challenging, but it's also the most rewarding thing that I personally have experienced in my life.
Amazing. I love it. And you are a delight. This has been so fantastic. I am so grateful that we found each other and that we now get to be online friends until I come to
Yes, me
Singapore.
too.
You come to Canada.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You're so welcome.
So you guys,
Like I
I'll
said,
put,
I'm becoming a tourist agent for Singapore. So,
yeah,
I am so happy to show people around and give them the real taste of Singapore.
perfect. I wouldn't even know where to begin, so I'll begin with
Don't
you.
worry, I'll come pick you up.
So you have a free training on your website that
Yes.
folks can opt into. We've got your website, anlytampere.com, where you can go and find her and follow her along. And I'm on your email list now, so I see you coming in there with, different tips and tricks and service. And is there anything else that you want to promote or offer as we wrap up the show?
Well, I would say if you want to continue hearing what we discussed, definitely come onto the newsletter because it's a small community, and that's where I'm really sharing every week what has happened in my business. Being very honest, like last week we talked about my marketing, which I didn't do so for a long time. So I give tips on how you can get back on the train, for example. So
Perfect.
yes, if you want to hear the real Anne and the real tips, just come on the newsletter. And you get a free goal setting training with it as well. So that can always
Practical
help.
skills. Yeah, right.
The
To grow the
practical skills.
business. Yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
exactly.
It's like brand
Absolutely.
coaching.
Yeah.
Amazing. Great. Well, thanks so much, and have a great rest of your day.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is really fun.
Great.